American descendants of slaves, black folks, our people, have been the weakest link. And there's no invested interest, there's no intentionality to resolve a lot of the disparities and issues that are in our community. And you have to start to think, this must be on purpose. It has to be. And I hate to be pessimistic like that, right? And then you go off and people call you conspiracy theorists or whatever. No one's intentionally making these plans to destroy black people. But if you look at the policies, right, you know that that's the case. I was on the podcast a couple weeks ago when we were talking, and I brought up the fact that if you're a felon, right, a nonviolent felony or whatever, you're placed on probation in the state of Minnesota. If you're in any pictures and any contact, the police pull us over and you got a legal license to carry your firearm, and I'm your buddy or I'm your little brother or whatever, and they pull me over, they run our licenses, they see I'm on probation and you have a firearm, that's a probation violation for me. I can go right back to jail because that's a policy. These are policies, right? So if I'm on probation for a nonviolent crime, say I got caught selling $60 worth of marijuana, right? That's a felony still in the state of Minnesota. Any amount of sale, right, of any type of controlled substance is a fifth-degree felony. And I was hanging with my cousin or my father, whoever has a licensed firearm on them, because I'm not supposed to be around any firearms. It's in the contract that you sign, or you're on probation. That's a policy. I can get back. I can go back to jail, or it depends on how the judge is feeling, or my probation officer is feeling, if they want to actually pursue it or not. So when we start to talk about legislation, policies that can be changed, how can you use your influence as a potential legislator to address some of those issues that have such a huge impact on our community? I mean, as you can imagine, a person that's on a nonviolent probation or whatever from whatever bogus felony that they caught, if they get caught again violating that probation, now they're subject to prison time, which means whatever job they had, out the door.
You know, my job also, before I was a legislator, like my job as a black man is to plant seeds and come back and water them. I am the vice chair of the Ramsey County Criminal Justice Coordinating Committee right now, and a lot of things we're working on is to kind of change what the county can do in these courts, because Ramsey County controls the court, what the county can do. One of the things that I like about our county prosecutor John Choi is like he says stuff that makes sense. Like, John, I'm not going to prosecute these fifth-degree drug possession charges. When I look at the police report and it's questionable, he says if the traffic stop was because of this guy didn't turn his blinker on, he had a busted tail light, and all of a sudden they find all of these drugs, and this creative pen writing they do in these police reports is obvious, I'm not going to charge those cases. I'm going to charge for the traffic light. That's my job, to plant those seeds and come back and water them. And I want to allude, before I forget, I want to go back to something you said when if anybody in this state is saying that you're spewing rhetoric, like, it was nothing sweet about what happened to Brother George Floyd. It was nothing sweet about what happened to Philando. So as a legislator, I can't go into the Minnesota House of Representatives and sugarcoat racism.
That's right.
Mama Val, I call her Mama Val Malute, Mama Val, but I'm talking about Valerie Castile. When Justine DeMond was murdered, and then the settlement came back, right? And we get all this foreign press calling, and Mama Val don't want to answer the phone. And when I talk to her and I ask her, what do you want me to say? Because I want to speak, to the press, but I don't want to say anything that's gonna be negative or come back to the Fernando Castile Foundation. She says, "Well, tell him, I eat those. She eat those apple Tootsie Pops." She said, "Tell him it tastes like the apple Tootsie Pop. It's so sweet." Because they want to know how we feel about this settlement. Tell her it's sweet, but then when you get to the chocolate, it's not chocolate, it's shit in the middle. That's what she said to me. Tell him that. Ma, you want me to say? I want you to say just that, because it's sweet. Although it's sweet that she did get us, a settlement. It tastes like shit, because the only officer ever charged in a murder here at the time was an African American convicted without any video evidence. This is like a historic time, I guess. We're supposed to celebrate, but in all actuality, it's not a time to celebrate. We just want our loved ones back. But as a legislator, I have to go in being exactly who you see today, right? My voice is like a construction tool. Sometimes you have to go in with the jackhammer. Sometimes you just go in with sandpaper, and smooth stuff out. But I think that it's gonna have to be. I hit the ground and shake the concrete at the state capitol, man. I can't go in and shoot. If you think about it, we got Republican legislators that walked out on us on Juneteenth when we were talking about police accountability and putting stuff on the books. They walked out on Juneteenth and said that's the end of the legislative session. We don't want to hear it. So I have to like keep in mind that as a black man, we have some culturally specific issues that need to be addressed, that needed to be addressed maybe 80 years ago. Some of these legislators that are in legislation right now, bro, you got to think about it, been here 25 years. Some of their ideology ain't shifted. It hasn't shifted to the 20th century right now. They're still in the Rolodex phone area. We got smartphones now, you know what I'm saying? So I just want to be like not be soft-spoken on issues that make sense for my community, and hopefully I'm effective. I'm almost sure I'm going to be effective because I'm pretty good at disarming people, man, and giving them the truth. And so I'm going to be effective. But we have to pass policy that makes sense. What I mean by that is we have to put some accountability pieces in the legislation. For example, when it comes to policing in our community, there's no way on this earth that you can have a police officer with 19 different write-ups and he's still policing our streets. At least out of that 19, at least 7 people were right. And so you need to come on in and do some desk work. You know what I mean? Like, we got to put those type of we got to put pieces into legislation that take some of the power away from the police federation, so that these police chiefs can get rid of these. We hear this. We got these bad apples. We got a few bad apples. We can't have one bad apple when it comes to But policing is not. It's always like I get here. This is like a sweet spot because this is something I really want to change. But then we have to work on the education system, man. Like, come on, man. We can't keep talking about the achievement gap when we know the achievement gap is man-made. We can't keep talking about fixing something that we know how to fix the achievement gap, right? I'm not the smartest person in the world, but we just removed police officers out of the schools, right?
The SROs, yeah.
The SROs out of the schools, right? Okay, so
at least in St. Paul and Minneapolis.
Don't. Now you got a pot of money, right? You got a chunk of change.
Yep.
Don't start splitting it up. Take that money and hire some fathers to come in these schools, and hire some parents to come. We always talk about parent-teacher involvement. We always talk about getting the parents in the school. Take that same budget. Pay them that kind of money you would pay in the police to be in them schools and sit on their phones.
I like that idea.
Here's another thing. I'm honestly telling you that young African American boys and girls, they relate better to people who look like them. I don't want to come to school and I got a white man telling me that you go to your class, man. Who you talking to?
And now, is that a formal recommendation that you have for the St. Paul School Board and for the Minneapolis School Board?
Take that. Don't try to give them $14 an hour. Take that same money you were putting into the police and put into parents.
Yep.
Bring some of these fathers into these schools, because a lot of fathers not even in their kids' lives. Now I'm working at the school. I'm making money and I'm helping. Like, are you serious about the fixing the achievement gap? Are you serious about parent-teacher involvement? Like, these are ideas that these are make sense ideas for my community. You know who was the SRO when I was in grade school? Somebody's grandmother who we knew was beat our butt. You know what I mean?
Yep,
and we weren't going to disrespect her because whoever grandmother that was, they'd have beat your butt for disrespecting their grandmother.
Right. But
we have to get back to incorporating family and the people who. Doesn't it just make sense to incorporate the people who are affected by what you're trying to change? Like, I can't go over me or you can't go over in West St. Paul and tell them that we're gonna fix the problem in that Hispanic community. They'll look at us like we're crazy without incorporating people from that community and their ideas.
Absolutely.
So we always got a room full of white people making decisions for our community. And we don't say nothing, so they think we're comfortable with that, man. So like, do stuff. Just tell me. I've never been more passionate about any work that I did in my life, man. So just stop me. But when I'm not telling the truth, but You know, they say if you're not at the table, you're on the menu. We've been on the menu for years, and the lions and the tigers been eating, man. I'm talking about for years. Off us. Imagine how many white people do you think benefit off of George Floyd? Like rich right now off of George Floyd being murdered. You just think about this. Think about this. It's something to think about. You know those Black Lives Matter signs you see? It's sitting in there. These are nice signs too. These Black Lives Matter signs in everybody's yard. Walk up to that sign and look at the Union bug on that sign, and tell me who made that sign. I bet you it's a white man right now. A white company made that Black Lives Matter sign, and they capitalizing right now off of George Floyd. I've been black all my life, bro, so I can tell you what I'm seeing right now. This is what's happening. People, everybody capitalize off of us, but us. It's time to stop. Early on, people told me to tone it down. Tone it down, Mr. Thompson, because my campaign slogan was "Cut us in or cut it out." So and I was
wait, too hard right now.
But that was my slogan, like cut us. But it's people over politics. I changed it. I toned it down. It's people over politics. Because we get so caught up in the political rhetoric that we forget about the people.
Right.
The people who are going to be impacted by the changes that we're trying to make. There was a legislator by the name of Nick Zerwas. He's a Republican legislator, right? And right after Philando's murdered, the legislator, Mr. Zerwas, he's a good person, by the way. I respect Mr. Zerwas. He retired, but I can share this. He had a bill that he proposed. We call it the anti-protest bill, meaning that if you protest, if there was cleanup after, if they had to pay for extra policing, if there was anything, that the organizer of these protests would be charged with a crime and we'd be fined. I yelled at it went viral. I yelled at Mr. Zerwas and I shut the hearing down and we're gonna put people, and I'm yelling, I got these crutches and I'm like, and then I come back 2 years later. Now I told Mr. Zerwas, this ideology is from Elk River, man. Like you ain't never seen a protest in Elk River, but I'll put you on my schedule, right? But at the end of the day, what you're doing right now is trying to infringe on our right to peacefully assemble and tell people that we're
First Amendment, right, by the U.S. Constitution.
And Nick, you're starting to look like a Klansman to me. Is pretty much how I talk to Nick Zerwas. But fast forward to year for last, and I had a bill. It was a bill that I wanted to propose, to take kids out of this doggone community and take them to see things that they've never seen before. Like I played the tuba. People didn't know that I played the tuba because my mother took me made me go with a friend to the symphony orchestra, something that was not on my radar, but I had no choice. Either you're not going to be hanging out.
You found a passion for something.
Well, before you know it, the same tuba brings me here to play in the band in college. You know what I mean? But what I'm saying is somebody took me out of the community. So by the time I got off from band practice, basketball, by the time I got done with that, it was pretty much time to wash up, go to bed. Do a little homework, go to bed. But somebody invested in me, so it just made sense to propose a bill like this to try to get kids out of this place and to see something different and, put different ideas in their head as opposed to, we don't need another rapper, right? And Nick Zerwas was one of the people who I had to walk in his office because I need Republican support. And he said to me, man, I remember you calling me names, and I remember you shutting down my hearing, and I remember how passionate you were. Now you're here in my office asking me for an appropriation? And I'm thinking, he's not going to do anything for me. But he said, John, me and my wife went home, and we talked about how I push legislation here in this state and how I don't necessarily see how it affects you, because I go back to Elk River after the session's over with. He said, we never had that conversation if you hadn't shown up how you shown up. And so he thanked me, and he authored my bill.